So what was the cause of the devastating explosive failure that happened at the World Trade Center?
It looks like one of those scenes of an old building being, purposely dynamited and blown up.
The entire building has just collapsed, as if a demolition team set off. When you see the old demolitions of these old buildings, it's folded down on itself, and it is not...
10 o'clock Eastern Time this morning, just collapsing on itself. This is a place where thousands of people work. We have no idea what caused this. If you wish to bring anybody who's ever watched a building being demolished on purpose knows that if you're going to do this, you have to get at the under infrastructure of a building and bring it down.
This was clearly the way the structure is collapsing. This was the result of something that was planned. It's not accidental that the first tower just happened to collapse and then the second tower just happened to collapse in exactly the same way. How they accomplished this, we don't know.
At 10:30, I tried to leave the building, but as soon as I got outside, I heard a second explosion and another rumble and more smoke and more dust. I ran inside the buildings, the chandelier shook, and again, black smoke filled the air. Within another 5 minutes, we were covered again with more silt and more dust. And then a fire marshal came in and said we had to leave because if there was a third explosion, this building might not last.
As we were getting our gear on and making our way to the stairway, there was a heavy-duty explosion.
We get some of the people out, then there was secondary explosions and then the subsequent collapses. So I don't know how many people were in there. I know there was a lot of firefighters, but public safety personnel were in there.
New York's bravest never had a chance.
We really never even got to that close to the building. An explosion blew and it knocked everybody over.
Do you know if it was an explosion or if it was a building collapse?
To me, it sounded like an explosion.
Most of the victims so far were people outside the blown up buildings.
Like it sounded like gunfire, bang, 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 and then all of a sudden 3 big explosions.
Top floors collapsed down. I saw it blow and then ran like hell. Thank God. I'm 69, but I can still run.
Everything just went black. Everything came down, glass started popping. People got hurt, stuff went on top of them, and it was a big explosion. Everything got dark, real dark, like snow. You can see behind me, this is not snow, this is all from the building. It was a terrible nightmare.
We have just been told that what we thought was another explosion was indeed, according to the Associated Press, another building that has either been attacked or exploded.
We just saw that as well. The second tower, the only one that was standing, tower number 1, we saw some kind of explosion, a lot of smoke come out at the top of the tower, and then it collapsed down onto the streets below.
The FBI is here, as you can see. They had roped this area off. They were taking photographs and securing this area just prior to that huge explosion that we all heard and felt.
We started running, floor by floor, instead of popping out.
It was if they had detonated. As if they were planned to take down a building. Boom, 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 boom.
The streets of the financial district covered with debris, in some cases ankle deep. Cars on fire, cars just turned by the force of the explosions. It was like something no one had ever seen.
This huge, incredible force of wind and debris actually came up the stairs, knocked my helmet off, knocked me to the ground.
Well, me and Mr. Hess, the corporation counsel, were on the 23rd floor. I told him we got to get out of here. We started walking down the stairs. We made it to the 8th floor. Big explosion. Blew us back into the 8th floor.
We stuck on the stairs for a while. We finally got down to the lobby. Then we get to the lobby, it was this big explosion.
And the lobby looked as though a bomb had exploded there. All the glass was taken out. There were 10-foot by 10-foot marble panels that were once walls. They were loose from the wall of the Trade Center.
You have 2 110-story office buildings. You don't find a desk. You don't find a chair. You don't find a telephone, a computer. The biggest piece of a telephone I found was half of the keypad, and it was about this big. The building collapsed to dust.
I hope I live. I hope I live. It's coming down on me. Here it comes. I'm getting behind a car. It's incredible.
Oh, my goodness me.
That's all that's standing are the Twin Towers right now in the background. That's all that's standing. That's it. That's all that's left.
So you're literally right inside. What time did you actually photograph?
I don't even know. That was actually, I rode my motorcycle right up from there. That was about an hour ago, not even.
It's absolutely.
Look at that. That's all that's left.
Do you know whether that's the South Tower or the North Tower?
That's the South Tower.
And you saw no sign of life in here whatsoever?
No, I went all the way right there. Like, I don't know if they edited it out yet, but there's a big hole going down to the ground. There's nobody. But the firemen said, you know, that there's been a lot of people dead, like a lot of firemen died.
Because there were firemen in the building at the time trying to help people evacuate from the building.
Yeah, they said 200 people died. I thought the fireman I saw said 200 people died already.
And this wall here, this is from part of the tower itself?
Yeah, that's the South Tower, the lobby. And it's all the smoke and there's still fire going on in there right now.
Are you walking across?
Yeah,
you're walking across, and that's your friend also with a photograph. And the building on the right that occasionally appears in a building adjacent?
Yeah, and it's just gouged. Like the parts of the Twin Tower just gouged out the building. See, that's the concourse below. That's going down like 20 feet or so.
It's a bit hard to understand where things were or where are they now. Can you tell us, can you point out what is what in this maze of rubble and destruction?
This was the South Tower. This was 104, 106 stories tall. This is what is left. Up there was the North Tower. And you look, and you see, and there's no concrete. There's very little concrete. All you see is aluminum and steel.
What happened to the concrete?
The concrete was pulverized. And I was down here Tuesday, and it was like you were on a foreign planet. All of lower Manhattan, not just this site, from river to river, there was dust powder 2-3 inches thick. The concrete was just pulverized.
And what's to explain, Governor, the smoke that still comes out of the fire?
There's still fire down below. There is such an incredibly deep pile of rubble, and the tower goes down 5-6 stories underground, that there's still fire underneath, smoldering.
This is as close as we can get to the base of the World Trade Center. You can see the firemen assembled here, the police officers, FBI agents, and you can see the two towers. A huge explosion now raining debris on all of us. We better get out of the way!
It looks like one of those scenes of an old building being, purposely dynamited and blown up.
I spoke to the chief of safety for the New York City Fire Department. He received word of the possibility of a secondary device, that is another bomb going off. He thinks that there were actually devices that were planted in the building.
I was making my way to the foot of the World Trade Center. Suddenly, while talking to an officer who was questioning me about my press credentials, we heard a very loud blast, an explosion. We looked up, and the building literally began to collapse.
Then suddenly 7 went down. The crowd started running north again, trying to escape the dust cloud and the falling debris. Among them was Daryl. He was a worker trying to help with the injured.
You're just standing there, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you hear this clap, sounds like thunder. The building had shock waves going through. You could see a shock wave go up, the windows blast out. You know, it was like I thought I was watching a movie. It was so, I mean, I can't believe this is happening. You know, it's really ridiculous. But you know, came down floor by floor. Structure stayed intact until it all hit the ground.
Back live, we have had little relief here. Take a look at this. About an hour ago, World Trade Center building number 7 collapsed. A 42-story building. No word of any casualties in the building. It was the one calamity that was not a surprise.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
All of Lower Manhattan, not just this site, from river to river, there was dust powder 2-3 inches thick. The concrete was just pulverized.
Try this. Get a piece of concrete and drop it a little over 1,000 feet and see if it pulverizes into very fine dust. It won't happen. Much of this dust, along with steel and aluminum, was blown out horizontally from the buildings several hundred feet. Most of the steel beams and columns came down in sections about 30 feet long, conveniently ready to be loaded onto trucks. And pools of molten steel were found beneath the rubble.
This is how it's been since day one. Oh, it's unbelievable. And this is 6 weeks later, almost 6 weeks later. And as we get closer to the center of this, it gets hotter and hotter. It's probably 1,500 degrees. We've had some small windows into what we thought was a core at some point, and it looked like an oven. You know, it was just roaring inside. And it was just a bright reddish orange color. See that stuff he's pulling out? What was that, Chief? We're gonna hold off on the water. See the stuff he's pulling out? Yeah. Red hot. If we hit it too much steam, you won't be able to see what he's doing.
Great. Do we have molten metal at the World Trade Center Building 7?
You'd get down below and you'd see molten steel running down the channel rails. Like you're in a foundry.
Yeah. Like
lava.
Volcano.
Molten iron is the product of the incendiary thermite, a cutter charge which is used in many controlled demolitions. There's no other conceivable source of molten metal found at the base of World Trade Center 7. Hydrocarbon fires burn 1,700 degrees maximum. Molten metal, molten iron in this case, and most all molten metals burn, they need 2,700 degrees to create them. We're missing 1,000 degrees of energy, of temperature.
Down below.
Do we have foreknowledge of the collapse? Turns out the BBC announced the collapse 20 minutes before it happened. Here is the BBC reporter announcing the 47-story Solomon Brothers building close to the World Trade Center has also collapsed. This was announced 20 minutes prior, and here's the building right here, still up in the air. Who gives these people their scripts? And can't they do a better job of timing these things? BBC, of course, apologized for this mistake, citing the confusion of the day's activities.
It was a very well-built building, probably better, given its size and the attention and everything else, much better than similar buildings built today because it was the first of its style. Well, there's a very simple, long box structure built well, according to the engineers who know it. And as we just look at this, there's just one other thing. We have not resolved an answer to this, but Jackie Judd, our correspondent in Washington, has sent me an email just a short while ago, and she really speaks to what's been puzzling enormous numbers of us. We see all of this video and these live pictures of where the towers used to stand, but the question is, where is all the rubble? It seems so flattened. How could so much steel and concrete just vaporize? Did it all turn to dust? It's one of the questions we will try to answer in the next little while. The question is, where is all the rubble? It seems so flattened. How could so much steel and concrete just vaporize? Did it all turn to dust? The question is, where is all the rubble? It seems so flattened. How could so much steel and concrete just vaporize? Did it all turn to dust?